believe this is going to be a combined committee also with personnel and finance.
That's correct.
First off, we have evergreen landscaping.
Yeah, that was the issue that was talked about at the last meeting with filling in this drainage swale out here. As you can look at the two quotes, and I was quite astonished as to what the price came back at.
Oh, I was figuring between 20 and 30 when we first talked about it. I was like, you guys don't realize how much it's going to cost.
Yeah. So it was a thought. Based on that, though, Susie Schuyler and myself have had a meeting with Mr. Maltoff in regards to where we would like to put that exercise equipment that goes along with that United Way thing. And we've discussed this area along the west side of the building on the grass parallel to the blacktop area that's going to have the paintings on it from that. He was totally okay with that idea. He didn't have a problem with that. He said it wouldn't interfere with the kids coming or going on the playground. Basically, it would just be mulch instead of grass and a few pieces of equipment. So I'm talking with him. He didn't have a problem with that.
Did you promise snow removal during the winter?
No, because we plow everything to the west anyhow.
Okay.
So yeah, that was one of the reasons, one of the thoughts to get there too. Was the fact that just wouldn't interfere with anything.
What's he putting made out of?
That I'm not really sure of, Dan. I don't know if it's steel, powder coated steel, or if it's PVC, but I know it's weather resistant because it's outside in every other place where they use it.
That's a good question. It's going to rust after how many years are going to say?
Well, I'm sure it's got to be constructed just like the playground equipment, and we have no rusting or anything going on there whatsoever.
Yeah, it's similar to that. There were pictures and then when we did, she had printed them, and it's similar to the playground. That there was,
Yeah.
Right.
outdoor stuff.
And the playground equipment, we inspect that almost monthly for any problems with it or whatever. We have touch-up paint for anything that might get damaged through the graffiti that we got to grind off or sand off or something, so it would be the same nature.
So it's going to be gear adjacent to the path?
Yeah, it would be from where this blacktop area is south. Wouldn't be anything in this area. It would just be from the blacktop area south to the edge of the playground. As far as the equipment is concerned, the pathway that they're painting, they'll utilize that same path area, but then they'll also use a portion of the path that goes up to the west and then curves to the south to get back to Woodfield. It'll only be that area on the west, facing the west. And there may be one piece of the equipment back there because there's not a whole lot of level ground back there. You can stick one piece of equipment back there to go along with that painting that goes on the blacktop.
You have any questions, Tom?
Well, I think we should probably point out, because it's been a while since I've meeting that, this is essentially two separate proposals, kind of wrapped up into one. The United Way is just focused on the
Pathway, which we
pathway
approved
with the
right.
painting and the kid orientated stuff. And then Susie brought to us the idea from the rec department, putting together
Couple
like,
exercise stations.
Right, exercise equipment and things like that. And obviously there was a fairly significant cost to that.
So you guys don't want to modify the swale, it sounds like. Right?
No, not for that kind of price,
So,
no.
My question is what's the cost Susie wants to spend, including equipment and any modifications to the grass for your chips and stuff? I would assume you got to put some 4x4s around it or something.
Well, from what I understand, all of that would be done through donation and volunteer. The only cost to the district would be the actual equipment.
What's that?
It depends on how many pieces are put in and what pieces, there hasn't been a decision made as to what pieces would be purchased yet. It was just, let's get an area, find out what we can put in, how we do an area, what we can put in there, and then proceed from that point. Because this is something that probably wouldn't take place until next year because that pathway isn't going in until this fall. That painting isn't going in until this fall. So, just to give the board some ideas as to what we're looking at, what we're doing, and then go from there.
I want to say what she brought to us was from like 18 grand, right? 18 to 20 grand, I believe.
Something
I don't
like
have
that. I
it in
think
front of
we
me.
should probably have to bring it back before the rec committee before it actually goes in.
Right.
But now we have an idea where she should put it though. Yeah, I kind of thought when they talked about the swale, I was like, well, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought to put that in with the drainage tile and all that, it was going to get pricey. Okay, next we have backboards for evergreens.
Right.
Now, that pricing I wasn't suspecting.
That was, came to me through a comment from Mr. Bedford, the gym teacher here, and I believe Chris had approached him as to getting some costs on what that would potentially cost to have adjustable glass backboards put in this gym. So those are the two quotes that I got for that. They're broken down also, the safety straps that are listed on both of those
I noticed,
are an insurance item that the insurance carrier recommends that any basketball equipment that is movable over seating areas have these safety straps attached to them. And what they are, it's a strap that attaches to a permanent fixed member on the apparatus and to the part that swings up and down, and at a sudden jerk, notice it freezes and keeps it from swinging all the way down and potentially hitting someone someone that's on the bleachers. So that's something we really have to move forward on regardless of what we do with the rest of it. But both companies, because I had it in here, gave me costs on both.
I noticed that in the breakdown.
Right.
What it prompted, and I don't even think I told Ken this, but what
Right,
it prompted
that's
the
what I was gonna say.
basketball request is actually some parents have reached out to me about replacing them in the Evergreen gym, based on the rec department activities that go on there. That's basically where we're stemming from.
But they're really all the same, right? Across Evergreen and the rest of the schools.
Except the Foxborough.
Okay, except for Foxford.
Right.
So it's kind of hard for us to, I just had personal experience with the, just because you have to, when you bring them up and down for the kids, depending on the age, you use this crane, and I'm sure this is the part they hate. You use this giant crane, I'm sure you're familiar with it, and you keep turning it, and then they kind of centimeter by centimeter go up about 10 minutes later.
Well, we've taken one of those cranks and modified it to fit into a half-inch electric drill, and we did take off the apparatus that you had to push up on to release the nut
Right.
in order to turn it. So now if you just take that drill and that bar that we made with the socket on it, they go up and down quite easily.
Okay, well, I think, is that something that's usually made accessible to, because a lot of times it's the parent coaches who do it, like myself.
Well, I know there's one that Cannon has access to for Woodfield, because he's one of the, I understand is one of the coaches out there. The one here for Evergreen, yes, is in the athletic closet.
Okay.
And Trailside, that one, I'm not sure where that one is. That might just be in the storage area in the gym. But yeah, there is one at every building.
All right, because I remember last season at Woodfield, we tried to find it, and somebody said.
Woodfield didn't have one last year.
Okay.
We
Just
made the
got one.
electric
Okay.
one
Okay.
towards the
That's
end of the
great,
school
because I was
year.
thinking about bringing in my cordless
Yeah, no,
and doing it
you
myself.
never do it with cordless. And then, like I said, we took off the block that you had to push up
Right,
to
which made it
release
worse.
the nut so you
Definitely.
can turn it.
Okay, so we don't need backwards.
I'm not saying
You're
we
saying
don't
that
need
the same at
backwards, it's
Whitfield
just,
and Trailside.
That's one point I want to bring up, because. there was-
evergreens are not adjustable height-wise. That is the only building that is not adjustable height-wise.
Oh, they are, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Whitfield and Trailside have adjustable height.
For the different age groups.
So is that why a lot of the rec basketball stuff never happens here?
Correct,
Yes.
because they cannot have the younger kids here because they can't
so it's
change the
a-
I
height.
often wondered that.
So it's the right department that should go.
That might be a stretch because we'd probably have to do a time study on how
I don't
much.
think it's a time study issue, because right now, 100% of what's there is working 100% of the students in the building. The only reason we modify it is for rec department needs.
So out of curiosity, how does that work for, because of the ages in the building, that would change the height?
The gym teachers adjust them accordingly, because I know we get calls from the gym teachers that they're irritated that the rec department didn't put them back at the height they were when they left the day before.
But I mean here, where they can't be
They
adjusted.
use the smaller portable boards that are in the gym on the big disc.
Okay, so they roll it out?
Right,
Okay.
for gym classes. And they're not the
We
safest.
could do a partial to the rec program.
I can't imagine why I couldn't do the whole thing. I mean, there's no
Because the
reason.
majority of the time at least.
Right.
We could unless they audit you, and then we'd be in trouble.
The only reason you're putting it in there is only because of rec department adjustment for other groups using it. Otherwise, the school's been the same. That works fine. It has been ever since it was inception.
You're correct in what you're saying, because the rec department, the parent feedback or the parent contacts I got was stemming from rec department stuff.
Yeah.
So it wasn't because of what Joel was teaching in gym.
Yeah. that we were doing because the school is going to need it also, the school doesn't necessarily.
Will the school be using it?
It's irrelevant, we don't need it.
If the school's using it, it is relevant.
That's why I figured they'd come back and cut it.
The basketball courts at Fox River. If they're used by the students in the schools, it's not rec department. Rec department is added extras. He said you can go ahead with that equipment, that's fine, because it's going to be used by the whole community. But once you start talking about the equipment that we have in the gyms for the students, they're not going to go for it. And that's not the auditors, it's the PI.
So you'd have to do a time study and say, let's 60% the students' units, 40%, or it should be.
You'd have a time study of the reasons for adjustability, which would be 99.9% for rec department and 0.1% for us.
Actually, it wouldn't, because what Ken was referring to is what the gym teachers do now is they pull out portable basketball
Yeah.
courts, which I guess is a solution.
That's always been the solution, yeah.
Is it the best solution? No, because we've had several of those boards broken from them tipping over. So luckily, none, at any time when one tipped over, didn't hit anyone, but they do tip over. So it's not the,
I thought at one point those things bolted down, did they have a floor? I thought they had a floor.
you sit on a 3.5 foot diameter disc with like a tripod
Big
bottom.
What you buy at Walmart for your driving to.
They're on wheels, so you can tip them back and roll them out of the way. So yeah, they're not the safest in a gym class situation, especially when I know a couple of the classes are two classes at one time, where you've got a lot of kids in there. I don't know if that's the safest way to do it. If there's a better way, yeah, I think it would be to put up the adjustable backboards in this building. That's just my opinion, looking at it from a safety standpoint. I know over the years, in the 18 years I've been here, we've had 4 broken ones that I can vividly remember, because I mean, they busted right off. They got tipped over.
What's replacement?
Oh, the last one I think was right around $300. I think that times 4.
I was
that's
just gonna say, you're
$1,200.
almost there.
Yeah. So,
What's your preference, Tom?
I guess, based on Ken's comments, I think we should look at it, but this, to me, when I first read it, strikes me as a lot.
Well, that's what I said.
I,
it's a lot only because they have to do some fabrication.
To make them
in
adjustable.
order- Well, not to make them adjustable, but to fit the board and the adjusters to the swing ups that are already here. Okay, so now you're taking something new and adding it to something that's 22 years old. So there's nothing out there right now that you can just take out of the box and bolt it on.
so they
You have
would be
to
using
fabricate
as
some.
part of what's there.
Right, oh yeah, they'll use everything that's here that raises the basket up out of the way. It's just the apparatus that adjusts it for height and to connect the board to the existing swing arms. There's quite a bit of fabrication that has to go on in there.
And
Go on
then
to
plus,
do that.
if I'm reading this right, it would be fully electric.
Yes.
Would there be a
On
switch?
on the
and
one,
it would go
on
on?
one bid, yes, from,
Okay. Versus how it is now where it's manual.
no, these are, yeah, the ones at Evergreen or at Trailside and Whitfield are manual. These would be,
And it also includes straps for Fox River, then, from what I've seen on the bill.
it's a separate bid on here, yeah, but I mean, that would include all the safety straps based on whatever those costs are and the glass backboard and everything needed to make it work. Make it go.
Which bid do you like better? The VRs or the specialty?
Well, I dealt with DR bleachers a lot over the years with bleacher projects and so on and so forth. I know their quality of work, I know their work ethic, I know when they say they're going to be there. This other company I've never dealt with, I don't know. The prices are so close, so it's, 6 one half dozen another in that respect.
So help me, are we talking 11.6 or nothing? Doing it or not doing it?
So I'm guessing, I think, obviously we could use this gym then for after-school activities. Besides the other 2 buildings, it would only make sense that we put in the adjustable ones here. Is it a little pricey? Yeah, I agree. When I first said, backwards $11,000? What? Well, I can see now, now that they're going to be adjustable on that, where the price comes in, because you got the fabrication and that.
Well, plus, this also includes
The straps.
the strap, but also the electronic motor. doing it.
Right,
So, like we were talking about before, the ones at the other schools, either manually crank it or use a drill, whereas this would be fully automatic, where it would just go up and down from the motor, which adds a significant expense.
Yes.
I mean, that part of it's $3,000 for the equipment and another $800 to install it.
Right.
So if we're looking at cost, someone do it, is that an absolute will be nice? Or if you're gonna do it, you do it.
You're gonna do it right the first time. So what's your preference on it?
I'm just looking exactly what we understand where we're going with the Evergreen, I'm just looking at the Fox River aspect of it. Again,
The actual price from SCI is actually better because the one from VR Bleachers is only manual adjusters, where the
That's
other
what I thought, the
SCI
second
has
one.
electric
Has it all,
adjusters,
okay.
right? And they are a little bit, $400 cheaper, but they do have the electrical adjusters.
now is Fox River, sorry if you mentioned this already, Luke, does Fox River work the same as Evergreen and Trailside?
Fox River doesn't, their glass backboards are fixed.
Okay.
They don't raise up and down, nor do they swing out of the way because they're not over the bleachers.
Okay.
So that's the court they use for basketball games and so on and so forth. The other 4 baskets, the 2 on the south wall are fixed. The 2 on the north wall, which are over the bleachers, do raise up out of the way, but they're not height adjusted
Okay.
because that, when there's 22 grade levels there.
Yeah, that's what steel cables.
Pardon?
That's what steel cables, like every other basketball fixture. Can't imagine I've ever heard of a basketball net steel cable failing. Have you ever heard of it? Can they
I've
point to
never heard of
anything?
one, I've never heard of one fail, but I don't know if it's so much the cable failing or the apparatus itself. I know we had trouble with the 2 at Fox River. We had to have those repaired to where they were starting to slip. The gearing and the clutches in there
There's the
started
actual
to.
box itself.
Right.
I can't say the last time I ever heard of it.
Well, the
Indoor
cables
school
are
cable
inspected
fail.
yearly, so I mean, it shouldn't happen, but evidently it has happened in some cases, and that's why the insurance companies
And somebody
recommend
actually-
having the straps on.
Somebody snow blowed their roof one time too, so there's a warning tag on your snow blower. But I don't see throwing money away on a safety strap for something that's never happened that I've ever heard of in this vicinity. It sounds like a good idea. And there's no current state law that says you have to modify it. It's grandfathered in because it exists. I can't see throwing money away on something that will inevitably never happen in our lifetime.
One time it does, if someone gets hurt,
Then we using this
Sure,
recording
but
in the court.
that being the case, you should put a safety strap on every door because maybe it could fall off a hinge. It doesn't make any sense.
That's only $1,600 out of the total too, though.
Yeah, again.
And if the insurance company recommends that something does happen, then what? Yeah, I'm not a legal,
right,
I can
just
see.
gather the information based on the inputs that I get.
Have you heard cables, garage cables on overhead doors fail? I can attest to that several times.
Maybe it's way too
No, I snap cables. Yeah, springs too, when springs fail, you better.
Yeah, just that one happened. But
And at Fox River, is it purely for a convenience factor?
What's
Or
that, Tom? I'm sorry.
the,
The safety straps?
no, not safety straps, but the actual, so can they, so the 2 are permanent, right now are fixed,
Right.
and we want them to be able to move? Or we
We
want
aren't
the
gonna do
electric for the
anything, so-
other ones?
Well, the 2 that can be raised at Fox River are already electric.
Okay,
There is a winch mechanism for swinging them up out of the way, away from the bleachers. There is no other issue at Fox River other than safety strap. A lot of this other stuff was just inspection and repair of anything they may find during their inspection. Part of it is on there's a divider curtain that they can divide the gym into 2 sections. That's done with a pulley system, but it's ropes.
Okay.
So that would be including inspection and or repairing or replacing of the ropes or any pulleys might be done. That's, that fall on the second page, that's the $2,800.
Yep.
Okay, so then what is the,
Oh, the 3/4, that was
Yeah,
to
that's-
change out, yeah, no, that's,
Okay.
he just put that in there in case we would want to upgrade or do something different.
okay, I
That's
saw
nothing
that, I
needs
thought we
to
were
be-
talking about the
no,
same thing.
That's
Okay,
nothing that
alright.
needs to be done. That
Okay.
was, I'm here, I'll give you a cost now.
Okay, I got you.
I make a motion that we go with specialty closures to do the upgrades here and just put the strap work and that on over there and eliminate, the extra parts that he had told you on there that we just talked about.
Make 2 cents, something just fine for 6 cents.
What's the cost?
Be about 11,000. Got the total cost there. On the second sheet.
The evergreen cost is 11.2. That's for the straps, the adjusters, and the back doors.
11,800 for everything. That would be with the electric.
Right.
Why do you favor specialty over
The other one didn't have electric, and it's about the same price. So I figured if you can get electric for within $200, I'd go with the electric. Especially after listening to Tom say about the cranking.
And glass backboards are that much heavier than the metal ones, so yeah, the fact that cranking them manually may have been an issue, especially in this school because they do raise them up and down an awful lot.
I was just thinking, with the rec program, how many kids they do have taking basketball and even adults after, evening and that.
The aircraft, we'll attest to that, for the rec department programs, there's usually 4 teams at once in each building practicing at a court. So having an additional school would obviously be a huge benefit to be able to do. And we talked about the benefit of the kids here who could use an adjustable hoop and not have to play on portable backboards or potentially have them fall on.
I would say then therefore, for the motion, that motion be going away the other backwards.
Most definitely.
But the problem is I foresee that if you're the person running the thing, you're gonna say, it's too much of an issue, that was always up for the kids.
The other backboards would have to, the portable ones would have to.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, if we would install these, yeah, I definitely would get rid of the portable ones.
I don't know if the rec department is lowering the basketball nets after every thing for different height kids. I never heard of that in the Michigan League. It's always regulation size. Nobody lowers
For
their
age
nets.
groups
So
are
we
different heights.
always they change for pretty much every age.
I mean,
It's intervals. I mean, you can go 8 foot, and change it like this.
Right.
Just to be clear, Doug just asked the bottom line number, it's just under 15 because of the straps and electrical installation of Fox River.
We don't need that.
He had taken out that
We
one
don't
thing.
need the
I didn't
electrical.
Yeah, the last item on that second bid on page 2, the last item, the 2,800, and then the last item under the Fox River of
Which is
3175 can be omitted. So it's basically just the 4 items on the first page.
Yeah, that was the motion not to have that.
Just want to be clear.
Do I have a second on it?
a second.
All right, so then we would move that to full board meeting.
Yeah.
All righty, next on the agenda is boilers.
Okay, Chris had mentioned to me a week or so ago that in a meeting, the boilers for this building have been talked about again and we're moving forward with that. So I approached Active Temp, we talked, we discussed. They came back with this proposal, which is about $18,000 less than what their original, not quote, but their original estimate was.
And that was what, 2 years ago or a year ago?
A year ago, a little better than a year ago. The costs on here are very particular in the fact that the boilers, we could receive the boilers at a much lesser cost because AccuTemp's supplier has 2 of them in-house that were not used on a previous bid that fell through. So they would like to get them out of their inventory and recoup their money as quick as possible. The firm that would dismantle and take these two boilers out would give us a deduction if we could okay it and have it done before Labor Day, because then they don't have to worry about noise for the kids in the area, or, I mean, they still have to be safe, but it eliminates those two potential hazards for them. And the rest of it is pretty, pretty self-explanatory, but that's what brought this cost down to where it is now. The savings on the boiler, the savings from the scrapping company that would remove the boilers, and just the whole time element that's involved with it. If you decide not to do it and do it at a later date, there is an 8 to 10 week lead time on boilers, so it would push us out potentially into the heating season. And then AccuTemp prefers, unless it's an emergency situation, dismantling boilers and installing new boilers in or during the heating season. Just from the liability standpoint, that something happens and they can't get the boilers in, something doesn't work, now you have to shut a building down because you don't have heat in it. So that's their concern about it. I don't know, the other big issue that just came to light a few days ago on this, AccuTemp realizing that it's after budgets have been set, that the money maybe could be tight in order to accomplish this, they would be willing to, if we so choose to do it, they would be willing to allow us to pay $50,000 up front or after installation, and then the remaining $22,500 wouldn't be due until July of next year, so we could put that into our next year's budget. At no interest, they would just carry that money until then, if we would give them the okay to do this now. So those are all the particulars that go along with that number.
Do you have any questions on it, Tom?
Well, I mean, my only main, and again, I'm new to coming to the boiler conversation, having 3 quotes. And I know there's definitely some things that sound great about this, and timing may be perfect, but
Been down the road twice now, I think.
Pardon?
3 quotes, been down the road a couple times now.
Time-wise, I don't know how quick I can get somebody in here to do it, but I know this is, we're on a real tight timeline for this particular quote.
well, I mean, if we've done it in the past and they've all come in close, then
Yeah.
Usually AccuTemp's been the cheapest.
You
Usually
know,
I'm
yeah.
the first one to say get 3 quotes. When we got quotes last time, just, not written, but just verbal, they were the cheapest.
Yeah.
And I admit, we had talked about, and I was gonna say, wait till next year, but if we can get it for, and save 18,000, I'd be a little.
sure.
It's like 4 or 5 years of discussion and financing, it's already been in the budget now forever been paid for, so.
And we had put it in our lumber
Yes.
project.
Yeah.
And we can actually,
And for more than what this person.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely not a good point, I was just saying.
and we can put that 20,000 off, which I like. I like too, that you can put off 20-some thousand to next year, even though we might have the money set aside, we can actually leave it in our account for that.
Why not? I would recommend we go forward with this and get it done off the books.
You wanna make a motion, Tom?
Sure. I motion that we move forward with the AccuTemp bid and start the process.
I'll second that, Tom. You have anything else to bring up?
Yeah, the last item, was that included in your packet now in that sound system?
Yes.
Okay, yes. In working with the forest department at all the schools, primarily with Fox River, the sound equipment we use for their forest concerts that we transport from building to building is probably older than this whole group put together.
That have tubes in it? Well, I wouldn't go
It
that
may
far.
have. It may have. Reason, with the effort that the teachers put into these concerts and everything, the sound isn't of the quality that they would like to hear or like to see. So we've worked closely with Derek Mahan up at the high school, who has a lot more experience in sound systems and chorus setups. He kind of sat down with us and walked us through a whole gambit of different pieces of equipment, what we should have, what we shouldn't have, what would best fit our needs. And this quote of $5,800 is what we put together. Now, that would be a complete portable sound system that could be used throughout the district for all the schools, for all the concerts. The one uniqueness of it is once you have a concert set up and you have the sound that you want for that particular group, that particular building, you program it and the computer remembers where you had everything set. So the next time you take it into that building, you have a starting point. You just put this program on and it's okay, Fox River's program 1, it basically sets everything to where the computer thinks it should be. You may have to tweak it a little bit because you've got some extra singers or, you know, whatever. But it's just more of a modern day sound system for the chorus department.
What's your opinion on that, Dan, since you've had sound systems and that?
You know, sound systems don't go bad, so what we got is fine, but, I see they got powered monitors down here. Are the speakers powered on this?
And just giving you the numbers, Dan, I have no
I would
idea.
recommend powered speakers and powered monitors and very small other stuff. Otherwise, you're carrying around very large amplification stuff for no reason. Almost everybody's buying powered speakers these days. The other question I have is using ported mics anymore. Cordless mics are so dirt cheap, nobody trips on them. All you gotta do is replace a couple AA batteries. So I can't see why we wouldn't. They may.
Again, I don't know what the equipment consists of. This is just what.
I'm surprised Derek would recommend something with ports.
Okay.
But other than that, cost-wise, pretty much average.
Yeah, I can get that information. We just kind of started with this now, so I can get that as far as cordless mics and powered speakers. I can find out about that. We'll easily pull off the next week or something.
If you need input, let me know. My best friend owns a sound company that does this. Everything he's got is wireless right well. Most of it's wireless.
Even though it is old as the hills, is there any resale value to it?
I guess maybe Dan would know better than that, better on that.
Some
You
person.
know. I mean, I would keep the one system for these meetings, which is the newest of the systems that we have. And that system is 23 years old.
Works good.
Oh, yeah, for this application.
Yeah. I mean, we don't beat stuff up that much really.
All that I have.
How's the blacktopping going? I noticed that they had the gravel on that down, but I haven't seen blacktop over
They
anymore.
were, now with the weather, I don't know, they were scheduled to lay blacktop tomorrow, okay, at Fox River. Concrete work, they were in today and spread the stone.
Yeah, I saw they dumped it
And,
last week, Thursday or
we-
Friday.
We did have a couple of issues when they dug the sidewalk or the area for the sidewalk on the east side of the building. They ran into a manhole that was 8 inches underground.
Right.
So now we're thinking, again, that may have been one of the culprits of our odor in that building because now you've sealed off the hole, the breather hole in the top of the manhole cover, and now all the gases are backing up into the building.
Yeah.
So it may have been a blessing in disguise that they hit it.
What do you have to do? Put a riser ring or something?
Yeah, they've got 2 or 3 riser rings and then, just reset everything and now it'll be flush at the top of the blacktop. They hit Time Warner Cable, but that was Time Warner Cable's fault because they didn't identify where the cable was when Digger's Hotline called them in. So they came and repaired that free of charge. So, other than that, it's going good.
Already. Oh, they're Time Warner Cable? Computer buildings.
Yeah, there's some air runs diagonally across into the hub here. TV.
You have any other questions, Tom? Nope, I'm good. And we're gonna be tabling the sound system until next month, so he gets a little more information.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Motion to adjourn,
Second.
and then we go right to Dan's part.
Thanks.